Hello and welcome to the Best Football Show. I'm your host, Brian Baldinger. I'm here almost every single day, every week. This one is live, though. You got questions for me today? Anything that I can do to help settle your fears, ask your questions, answer whatever things are on your mind, I'll be happy to do it. I spent the day kind of researching and reviewing last night's game, which was terrific. A big part of the AFC West. So anyways, this is the Best Football Show. You can find me at Baldy NFL on all the social media platforms. You can find this podcast. You can download it in your free Odyssey app, wherever you get those apps, and you can like and subscribe to it and make this thing grow a little bit. We're joined weekly by Mark Schlereth from Fox Sports, former Hog and former Super Bowl champion Denver Bronco. We enjoy talking about life in the pits and in the trenches. So you can get that trench talk weekly as well. So anyways, we're live here today. And let's just go to it. I mean, last night we saw a play that I've never seen in the NFL. I know it's in the books, and I know it can be done. And I know that I might have practiced it maybe in my 13-year career, maybe been on a team that rehearsed it once or twice. It's fair catch interference, which was by Tremont Smith last night on a punt, fair catch punt by Darius Davis. Okay. And the fair catch interference gave the ball at the 47-yard line. And it allowed for Cameron Dicker to go out there and kick a 57-yard field goal, an untimed down with absolutely no defense coming at you, just a free kick. Just a free kick, 57 yards. And the Chargers got themselves a free 3 points. And there was a lot of confusion about it. Players didn't know the rule. Coaches were aware of the rule, and they were just waiting to see how the officials were going to implement it. But it was something that we never see. It has happened in NFL games. Paul Hornung did it when he was a Green Bay Packer. I think he kicked a 53-yard field goal. I think. Maybe it was a little bit shorter than that. But, I mean, I've not seen it in a game in a long, long time. Anyways, it was – because on that kick, you can drop kick that. You can tee it up. You can have somebody hold it like the Chargers did yesterday, and you get that. What we saw from the Chargers yesterday was something that we haven't seen from them in a month. We saw an offense that was more than a 17-point offense because they got explosive plays. You saw Gus Edwards at the end of the game with the 43-yard run, his longest run of the season. You saw Justin Herbert with two big, one huge scramble on 3rd and 10 for 19 yards. He had three really good scrambles, but two long ones. We saw some explosive plays to Ladd McConkey. It's amazing. Nobody ever seems to catch, actually cover that guy. We saw an amazing touchdown from Justin Herbert being chased by Zach Allen, throwing it to Darius Davis. I don't know how he saw him. It was a perfect throw, just a floater into the end zone for a 19-yard touchdown. We saw explosive plays from the Chargers that we have not seen in the last month since they lost to Baltimore. And so that allowed them to get to where they are right now, 9-6. So Denver and the Chargers both 9-6 with that win last night. And it was a complete team effort. Guys that we don't usually talk about, like Darius Davis, having a big role in that game. The Chargers face the Patriots. They're at the Patriots, and they play the Raiders to finish their season. They'll be favored in both those games. And Denver has two tough games. They've got to go to Cincinnati, and they have Kansas City at home. And maybe Kansas City is playing for a first-round bye. Maybe they're competing with Buffalo in that Week 18 game. So maybe, that's going to be a game that's going to be huge. So that's a little bit of fallout last night. Right now, the Chargers took control after an abysmal loss to Tampa the week before. And what it says to everybody is this is a week-to-week league. And everything can change in 1 week. And it did for the Chargers. Let's get to some of the games just starting this weekend. We have Houston and Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes has been talked about since the injury last week when Carson Wentz went in for him, that he probably wasn't going to be able to play. Well, And people were like, well, maybe he shouldn't play. Get him healthy. But that's not how Patrick Mahomes is wired. We saw him last year in the regular season. We saw him in the playoffs with an ankle that wasn't good. And it was hurting. And he didn't even want to go get a simple, MRI, X-ray to see if there was damage to the ankle. He just wanted to keep playing. Patrick Mahomes doesn't want to miss games. He wants to play out there with his team, just the way he's wired. I'm sure Andy Reid probably would try to talk him out of it and play Carson, or capable of, helping to win that game. The one thing I would say, as much as, Mahomes is out there, like they have real issues at offensive tackle. Last week we saw Joe Thuney playing left tackle. That's the fourth different left tackle this year. So they actually had to put a new left guard in to take his place. So they changed two positions to fix one. And I thought Thuney against Cleveland and Myles Garrett was really pretty good. People tell me that he gave up 10 quarterback pressures. I didn't see that. I don't know where you can read that stuff anywhere. I didn't see 10 quarterback pressures. I thought he played really well. So it'll be interesting to see what they do at left tackle. If DJ Humphries is good to go, Wanya Morris, I don't know what they're going to do. So, but if you got a quarterback who's got a hobbled leg, it's a concern. One thing I would say about their defense, though, is I saw the return, a healthy return last week of Charles Omenihu. Charles Omenihu got injured, non-contact, in the AFC Championship game in Baltimore. I mean, it was, it's a 10-month injury for him. 10-month injury. He came back 2 weeks ago. But I thought last week, Steve Spagnuolo put out a really good pass rush line on third downs. They put out Karlaftis, Omenihu, Mike Dana, and Stone Cold Jones, and got after the quarterback. Pretty good group. And Charles Omenihu got a sack fumble last week. That was his first sack since the AFC Championship game a year ago. So he looks good. He's a good player. And he started his career in Houston. So I'm sure he's going to be thinking long and hard about that. Later in the day, the Pittsburgh Steelers go to the Baltimore Ravens. And I'm concerned about Pittsburgh without George Pickens, because they are not an explosive offense. They don't push the ball down the field without Pickens. It is a check down offense. And if their run game struggles, like it has struggled, remember, they got two rookies in there, and Mason McCormick and Zach Frazier. Broderick Jones has struggled at times at right tackle. Dan Moore is a warrior, but he's a little stiff. So if they don't run the ball great, and they got to start throwing it, or if they fall behind, this is not a great come-from-behind offense. We saw that against Philadelphia last week. I have my concerns. I feel like Baltimore has really fixed some things in their secondary, really since maybe that Charger game when they really ran the ball well, 211 yards against the Chargers. But Tre'Davious White, they've got some guys healthy back there. Their secondary looks better. It looks like Roquan Smith is running better. He looks like he's in better shape, better fit. He's making more of an impact. And I think Chuck Smith, is their pass rush coach, pass rush specialist coach, is making a difference. We saw, we've seen the defensive ends, Ajabo and Owe, both have pretty good games the last few weeks. Like, okay, let's see what they can do. This is basically for the AFC North title right now. Pittsburgh's got they're in front right now, 10-4. Baltimore at 9-5. Pittsburgh beat Baltimore in Pittsburgh a month ago, convincingly. And here's the thing: when Pittsburgh takes the ball away, like they did against Baltimore, starting with Nick Herbig's strip fumble of Derrick Henry, I think on the opening series of the game, when they're taking the ball away in record numbers, they score points. If they don't, like last week, they got a muff punt fumble from the Eagles, and they got T.J. Watt knocking the ball out of Jalen Hurts' hands. That helped them, but wasn't enough. So Lamar has struggled. The statistics say he has struggled against Pittsburgh. We'll see if he can put that to rest. Baltimore looks like a better team to me right now. I know their offensive line isn't great, and if TJ goes with Herbig and Alex Highsmith and Preston Smith, they could create some havoc on Lamar Jackson and really harass him. And that would go a long ways to Pittsburgh, really securing the AFC North title. So it's interesting if you look at the games. Baltimore has Houston and Cleveland left to play. Houston might not have anything to play for. They've clinched their division. I'm sure they want to stay sharp. So who knows? Maybe they rest some players. You don't know. That might favor Baltimore. And they play Cleveland, who's out of it. But, they look like they are still capable of playing hard and putting up some numbers. Pittsburgh, on the other hand, has 3 very difficult games. They play Baltimore, and then they're home to Kansas City and to Cincinnati. And Cincinnati might be trying to win every game here down the stretch to finish 9-8 and maybe sneak into the playoffs. Kansas City might be playing for a number 1 seed. They might have a tremendous amount to play for. They've got a tough schedule. I think Baltimore is a little bit lighter. I think if Baltimore wins this game on Saturday, this could go a long ways to Baltimore winning the AFC North again because of the schedule. I think it favors them. Let's go to the game I'm going to be at on Sunday in Washington. The Eagles and the Commanders. Commanders at 9-5. They have not won a game against a team with a winning record. The Eagles are on a ridiculous win streak, right? They've won 10 games in a row. They've never done that in their history. They're 12-2. I have the inside track to the number 1 seed. Certainly Detroit, certainly Minnesota will have something to say about that down the stretch. So if you go back to the week 11 game, maybe week of 12, whatever it was, 5 weeks ago, in Philadelphia, that game was 12-10 late in the fourth quarter with 8.5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. It was a 12-10 game. And Washington, in field goal range, they went for it on 4th and 2. They could kick the field goal at the 30-yard line and maybe taking the lead 13-12. They opted to go for it on 4th and 2. And the play was botched from the beginning when Jane Daniels botched the snap from Tyler Biadasz, the center. And then the right guard and the left tackle collided. Okay, something was right. And Reed, Blankenship, and Zach Bond blew up Jaden Daniels scrambling for the first down. And really from that moment on in the game, Philadelphia just scored in every possession and ran, and they finished to win that game easily. But it was a very close game. And also in that game, I would say, I know A.J. Brown didn't play for the Eagles. Okay, fair point. But also, I'm trying to think if A.J. played in that game. I guess he did play. I'm sorry. A.J. did play in that game. My apologies. But what I wanted to say was Terry McLaurin in that game, the Commanders' leading receiver by a mile, their deep threat, has, for the first time in his life, got 11 touchdown catches already. He had 1 catch for 10 yards in the game. I feel like if Washington wants to beat a team with a winning record, beat a team in their division, and let everybody know that convincingly they are a playoff team, they got to get the ball down the field to McLaurin. I think the run game I think they'll struggle, honestly. The Eagles are better up front than the Commanders are. And as much as I like Brian Robinson and Jaden Daniels and whatever other back they put back there, I think Philadelphia is good enough up front. They've got an adjustment that they make if teams want to run the ball or are having success running. They go to a 6-1 defensive line. They put Zach Bond from the inside linebacker and put him outside and put a 6-man defensive front covering every gap and Nakobe Dean at the middle linebacker. And they'll walk a safety up. And it's tough to run against. When they make that adjustment, it's hard. There's not a lot of space to go find. So I feel like Jaden Daniels has got to show up in the passing game, and his favorite target by far is McLaurin. So maybe, and he's had great success against Philadelphia in his career. You go look it up. He's got a lot of touchdown catches, some big plays against the Birds. Now, that's not with, Quinion Mitchell out there. And most of it is without Darius Slay and without Cooper DeJean. So, okay, point, counterpoint. But I would say that And then the other factor is the Philadelphia Eagles have scored less than 30 points in the first quarter this year. I think they're the lowest scoring team in the first quarter. And so the only reason why I say that is because we have seen in back-to-back weeks, and wins against the Rams and then wins against the Steelers, that they can run for 300 yards and they can throw for 300 yards. But sometimes they don't really know what's going to work until they get into the game flow. And that could be a problem despite their record and their win streak. If they get into a playoff game and the playoff game gets played at a snail pace and the ball gets sucked out, the air gets sucked out of the ball, and next thing you know, everybody at the end has got 8 possessions. And you fiddle around for 2 possessions, and then who knows, you had to kick a field goal. Suddenly, you're limited by the number of possessions you could score on. And so while people say, wow, the Eagles can throw it, they can run, they can. They're certainly capable. They've got a great roster. But they seem to struggle with figuring out how to start games. What's the best way to start? And so I would say that's a concern and something that, people should take a look at. Maybe Sunday, the Eagles will show us in the last 3 weeks that they know how to start games and how to start fast. It certainly would give a lot more comfort to all Eagle fans everywhere around the world if they can start fast in any of these last 3 games where they could carry over possibly into the playoffs. We have a huge game this weekend in Seattle, Minnesota, with a nice, shiny 12-2 record going against Seattle, 8-6, coming off a devastating loss to Green Bay, where Green Bay dominated them. Got Geno Smith out of the game, but they ran the ball really well against Seattle, and that's something other teams hadn't done in a month. So Minnesota's capable of doing similar things offensively. Defensively, Brian Flores is having a great year, and their players are having great years. Lead the league in interceptions. So Geno Smith is going to have to be really sharp in this game if he goes. I know he's banged up. And it looks like the offense goes through Jackson Smith and Jigba. And Zach Charbonnet has really come on with the injury to Kenneth Walker, 3 sticks. So that's a game that I think we all are going to be paying attention to. Because the Vikings at 12-2 are certainly eyeing a number 1 seed. I talked to a lot of the Vikings when they were 10-2 2 weeks ago before they played the Atlanta Falcons. And I said, man, everybody's sleeping on you guys. Like, nobody's even talking about the Vikings. And they're still not talking about them that much. And they said they liked it that way. That's a good thing that people aren't talking about them. They don't want that pressure that comes with, not that it's pressure, but they'd rather sneak up on teams right now. And so I think it's, it's something to kind of look at right now. Carolina is going to see Arizona, which won big last week, got back in that NFC West race. You look at Arizona, all right, they're 7-7. They go to Carolina, okay, winnable game, right? They go to the Rams. It might be for a playoff spot, and they finish at home against San Francisco, and San Francisco is leaking oil. So, and then the Rams, just let's face it, they go to the Jets this week. Aaron Rodgers has played very well the last 2 weeks. It's not like, but they finally finished the game last week. Finished it with a Sauce Gardner interception, something they haven't been able to do. Either score on the final drive for a touchdown or defensively stop a team on a final drive for a touchdown. And so the Rams, that NFC West is wide open. Each one of these games mean a lot. The Rams go to the Jets, okay? Then they play the Cardinals at home and Seattle at home. So many division games. They're all playoff games. They're all play-in games. I thought the Rams, honestly, looked like the better team of all 3 teams to me. Weeks ago, I thought they were the best team. Even, I guess, when they put up that big number against Buffalo, I thought this is a team that could represent the NFC West. We'll see how it all plays out. Anyways, that's been the best football show here. If there's questions out there from anybody, I'd be happy to take them. If not, we can sit back and enjoy some college football playoffs, Saturday football, Sunday football, Monday night football. Let's see. Tyler Shearer, when do you think Pickens comes back 100%? I really don't know. Injuries are a hard thing to figure out. I'm not in that training room. I don't know. I know George wants to play. I'm sure he wants to play against Baltimore this week. I don't think he's going to go. This is Friday, and he hasn't practiced yet. Doesn't mean he can't play tomorrow, but I'd be surprised if he does. I would say that it looks like, next week, maybe against Kansas City. That would be a good matchup if he does. You would probably guess that he'd get a whole lot of Trent McDuffie out there one-on-one. When Kansas City goes man, that's usually the guy I like to man up with. He's the best corner by far. That'd be a good matchup right there. So I wish I had some inside information. Even if I call the Steelers, and there's some guys I could call about that, they're probably not going to let me know what they're thinking or what George Pickens is looking like today. They're traveling probably at this, what time is it? It's after 3 o'clock. They're probably traveling to Charm City right now, probably staying right at the Inner Harbor. You could walk the distance, to MM&T Bank Stadium right now. So I imagine they're on their way, and I honestly don't know what Pickens' status is. I guess if he plays, it's good for Pittsburgh if he's 100%. How about them Bucks? This is from GP of the Bucks. They got a big game this Sunday night. They sure do. Tampa is rolling. Their running game is fantastic. I mean, it's really remarkable how they've turned that around. The worst team rushing football 2 years in a row. 2 years in a row. And this year, I think they're number 4 or 5 right now. Bucky Irving's having a great season. It's interesting listening to Baker Mayfield know exactly how many yards Mike Evans needs to get to his 11th straight 1,000-plus yard receiving season. Mike Evans might not know that, but Baker does. Now, that's good and bad. They shouldn't force the ball to Mike Evans just to get him a record, because nobody's ever done this before, including Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice has had 11-plus straight seasons, 1,000-plus, but not his first 11. Mike Evans, his first 11 years, he could get 1,000-plus. It's really remarkable. He had 2 touchdown catches last year. He could get to double digits in that. Another year of that. He's a phenomenal. But with the guy that's coming on in the passing game of the Bucs is Jalen McMillan. With Godwin injured and out for the year, he has really stepped up these last 3 weeks. He's been a really good player. They've gotten him, schemed him open, some bunch formation, rub routes, those kind of things. Wide open last week against the Chargers, who don't give up a lot of touchdown passes. That's impressive. And so the thing that you have to factor in, though, about Tampa is Baker. I've known Baker Mayfield since he came out of Austin, Texas, high school right there. He went to Texas Tech as a walk-on. Cliff Kingsbury was a coach, won the job, won his first 6 games, had a falling out, but always wanted to go to Oklahoma. Him and his dad used to drive 6 hours from Austin to Norman. As kids, he was going up there to see the Oklahoma Sooners play. And what's he do? He leaves Texas Tech. He's the starting quarterback. He leaves Texas Tech, and he goes to Norman. And he walks on. They don't give him a scholarship. That's Bobby Stoops. He's not just giving him scholarships. You got to earn it. Earn a scholarship. Became the number 1 pick. All right? Won a playoff game in Cleveland. What other quarterback has won a playoff game in Cleveland recently? All right? I mean, won a playoff game. Here he is in his, his third act in Tampa. The thing that I love about Baker is he can throw an interception. He can make a mistake. He'll do that. He's a gunslinger, though, man. He's got a short-term memory loss. Like, he forgets it. He gets on to the next play. Nothing haunts that guy. That's swag. That's confidence. Baker has that. And I feel like the whole team feeds off it. Like Tristan Wirfs and Baker, they both have newborn kids, right? They both, they bonded as soon as they met. They bonded. Like, you want your quarterback walking out onto the field with Tristan Wirfs. You want him walking out there on the offensive line. You want him. He's one of the offensive linemen. That's how Baker is. He's not a prima donna. He's not a star. He's one of those guys. Graham Barton, Gedeke, Cody Mock. He's one of them. I like Tampa. I like Tampa a lot Sunday night. I like them to win the division. I am dying to see Michael Penix play this weekend. I thought Atlanta should have made the switch weeks ago. Let's see. We have whatever your name is. I can't pronounce it. Your thoughts on the Falcons switching from Kirk to rookie Michael Penix Jr.? He's ready. I've seen clips. If I wanted to break a code, which I'm not willing to do, I could show you clips of Michael Penix Jr. in practice against the Falcons' #1 defense and where the ball goes. The ball spins, it goes deep, it's accurate. I love Kirk Cousins. I really do. I like everything that kid is about and what he has done in this league. But I don't think this is a slump that he's in. I think this is what Kirk Cousins is. And so I think they had to go. They have an outside chance of winning this division. They got to win all three, and they need help from the Bucs. But I'd be surprised if Michael Penix Jr. doesn't wow the Atlanta fans and the NFL on Sunday. I think he's ready. He is an elite athlete. If the pocket collapses like it did against the Raiders on Monday night, Michael Penix Jr. can get out. He runs in the 4.4s in the 40. He's an elite athlete with an elite arm. And I think we might see some deep shots, some big chunk plays from this offense in Atlanta this weekend. I'm really anxious to kind of watch it. The mayor of Boltsville. Hey, Brian, why is it so hard to find a center in the NFL? Well, we saw 3 of them get drafted this year. Grant Barton is the best. And he was a left tackle at Duke, but he played center. We saw center. He played center his freshman year at Duke for like 6 games. But I thought that was going to be his best position. Zach Frazier starts for the Steelers. Great player. Cooper Beebe, until he got hurt, was starting center for the Cowboys. And Jackson Powers Johnson, had started at center and has been playing left guard. Why it's difficult? Because everybody plays an odd front in college. I mean, everybody plays some version of a 4-man front. Maybe in the Big 12, they'll play a 3-man front, a 3-man double cloud, and that nose tackle isn't a pass rusher. He's just a guy that's guarding the center position. He's not really much of a threat. That's part of that. The run game is totally different in the NFL. You got to choke block. You got to pull. You don't do those things in college. You got to get to the second level. You got to go chase fast linebackers like a Roquan Smith or Fred Warner, and you got to cut them off. You don't really have to do that much in college. It's difficult because typically you need great athletes to be great centers, right? Graham Barton's a great athlete. Ran under a 5.40 at the combine. So if you're a great athlete in college right now, you're probably playing tackle. Maybe playing guard if you got good tackles. But you're probably not putting your best athlete at center. So I think that's part of the issue is not everybody has, Tristan Wirfs, at left tackle, and you put Graham Barton in at center. So the best athletes on the offensive line in college generally play offensive tackle or guard, but they generally don't play center. I thought this was almost a rare year that we basically got 4 starting centers out of the draft this year. 2 years before, Tippmann, Giants drafted 1 out of Minnesota. They're hard to find. They're hard to find because the best athletes don't play center in college, and you have to be a great athlete there. All right, Mayor of Boltsville, thank you. All right, everybody, listen, thanks for joining me here. This has been the best football show. Like my tree says, like my living room says, happy holidays to everybody. Stay safe, enjoy a great football weekend, including a lot of great college football here this weekend as well. All right, everybody, thanks for joining me. I'll talk to you next week.